My name is Oscar Arredondo. I'm with the company, with Fire Detection Company. Basically, I call it FDC. What I wanted to do first is basically, because I'm understanding that some of y'all don't know each other, so we could do kind of a introduction, say your name, what building you work at, or address.
Great.
Good. Still the sure thing. Kind of present yourself that way. Y'all can kind of know who's who.
I'm Jim, I work for you guys. Nice to see you.
I'm sure that's the opposite, right?
My name is Fabian. I'm at the 1351 Katy Freeway, next to the DP building.
Okay.
So, started on May.
About a year, maybe?
This past
Oh, this past May,
that
okay.
building.
So you can say how long you worked with the company?
Yeah, my name is Troy, I work at the same building with Fabian,
Okay,
and I've been there for 4 months.
okay.
My name's Randy, I'm at 2656 Southeast West, I've been there since April.
My name is Alex, and I'm working 7155 Oak Hill Road. I've been in the company for 6 months.
Okay.
My name is Efren Montes, and I am at 2855 Gramercy Street for the Houston Eye Associates, and I've been there since September.
Mark, I'm at 10777 Northwest Freeway, been there going on 5 years.
I'm Connie, I'm working in 410 West, KBP West. Couple months.
Okay.
David, I'm over at 2324 Bay Area Boulevard. Been here about 4.5 years.
Great, okay.
Nick Hilbago, I'm everywhere. I've got buildings all over the place, man.
How long you been with the company?
Over a year now.
Perfect, okay.
Ruben, and I'm here at 5433 Westheimer, and I think I'm going for 5 years.
Michael Barrera, 3200 Lopez, been with the company 2 months.
You know, Chris Evans, working in President 31 Northwest Freeway. I am working in this company for 1 year now.
Perfect, okay. Like I said, I'm Oscar Arredondo. Out of high school, I started doing electrical work for a company called Kimmel Electric, and they started up a fire alarm division. And they basically, that's when Compact was basically growing, and I was assigned to the Compact out there at Tomball on 249. So I kind of helped do all the fire alarm in those buildings. And then I got recruited by a company called FDC, Fire Detection Consultants back then. I was a young buck, eager to learn, so I got sent out on different buildings, different panels and everything else. One of the things that I kind of took in from the owner over there was customer satisfaction. You know, you gotta treat your customers like your friends, you know, be honest with them, teach them, you know, the more they know, the better it is for us because they're gonna know what's going on. Don't pull any fast ones because they're gonna find out in the future later on that, you know, you were doing something you're not supposed to. So after that, that company, Fire Detection Consultants, got bought out by Grinnell. And luckily all my time rolled over with Grinnell, and then they merged and bought out Simplex Grinnell. And then that's when everything went to crap. So, you know, every time I went to one of my friend customers, I was getting yelled at because it was 2 weeks ago that they called for service and we were just showing up whenever we wanted to, and, you know, hey, I can only go wherever my boss tells me to go. But luckily I was their senior technician and I was pretty much taken care of because that was one of my main things is, you know, taking care of the customer. Well, after that, I partnered up with a guy, which was Fire Protection Incorporated. And I was with that guy for about 15 years. And everything was great, except I never knew what was going on, so that company closed down because of finances. He wasn't taking care of the finances. I had to leave and didn't know what to do. So in 911 last year, I quit that company after 15 years. Previous to that, I was with Simplex Grinnell 17 years. So I've been doing fire alarm for basically 30 years plus. So after I quit 911, I reached out to some of my buddies and everybody was like, you need to start your own thing, you know how to talk to customers, you got the customer base, and I did that. So November the 7th will be 1 year that I've been open. And I started out with, when I started, I had 5 building customers that were, wherever you go, I'm gonna follow you. So those 5 customers followed me, Ruben's been kind of one of my customers as well, and been promoting me and supporting me. And I am now, within the 1 year period, I have 30 buildings that I'm taking care of. And it's basically all been word of mouth, you know, just, moving on, taking care of buildings, taking care of the customers and word of mouth. And when Ruben presented about teaching some codes, the city codes, and what gets involved as far as fire alarm, what needs to be done, you know, I took him up on the offer, because this is kind of a way for me to teach y'all, promote myself, because you can see that front page is about the company. But we're gonna not just get into the company, we're gonna get into some of the requirements that are needed as far as fire alarm, what the fire marshals expect, what the city inspector's gonna expect. And, if you have any questions, you know, just feel free to ask, and if I know it, I'll answer it. So, let's get started. On the first page, this here. So, we're gonna go down. There's some, on the first page, you'll see these little green highlights. Those little green highlights that I put, that's kind of the stuff that I'm gonna focus on. But this here is a building check, or building file checklist. This is something that the fire marshal carries with him when he comes out to your building, and he's gonna say, I need to see these forms, I need to see, where it's down here for the same page?
Oh, it's in that, okay.
So, on the second page, it's gonna be, what the fire marshal carries with him, and he's gonna wanna see some of these forms. It tells you where you can find these forms, which is like here, what ordinance, LSB, you'll get to that in a little while. That's the Life Safety Bureau, that's part of the city of Houston, documentation that you'll find on their website. They have different LSBs for different items, okay? So one of the other items here is electronic locks. It used to be where it said magnetic locks. You know, they wanted you to test your magnetic locks every 6 months or semi-annually. I get a lot of engineers, property managers asking me if we do the magnetic lock inspections. Well, there was a lot of door companies, they were trying to find loopholes, and they were saying, well, you don't need to do the inspection if we put a door strike or a mortise lock, electronic mortise lock. And that was getting them from doing the inspections. Well, the city found out, now they changed the wording to electronic locks. Anything electronic that's in a building pretty much needs a release, especially if it's on a path of egress. You don't want to trap people in an elevator lobby. And even though it's got strikes, it has to release to allow you access to the stairwells. But we'll get into that a little bit more. Fire alarm testing is annually. When the fire marshal comes out, he's gonna basically say, let's go look at your fire panel, let me see your stickers. There's stickers on the fire panel that states when your building inspection was done, whether it was fire alarm annual or semi-annual. Because there's little check marks on the stickers that state whether you had a semi-annual inspection or an annual inspection. And then it also states whenever it's checked off, whether you do a red tag, yellow tag, you know, the blue sticker is an inspection sticker, and we'll get into that a little further down. We have fire alarm audibility. That's every 3 years. So right now, when he drops off this paper, you see the schedule that he expects to see these items being done. That's every 3 years. And we'll get into that, what's involved as far as your audibility inspection, testing, how we test it. Sensitivity. Basically, it's anywhere 2 to 5 years, and we're gonna get into that as well. Going down, elevator, that's basically your elevator recall annually. When the fire alarm inspection is done, we trigger the smoke detectors that recall the elevators, and we verify that main recall comes down to the first floor. Alternate recall goes to the alternate floor, whether it's second floor or another landing that has a crosswalk or anything like that. So this is the form that he goes by to check to see if your building's being maintained. This is one of the things I was telling y'all about the LSB, right there. This is the standards, what they expect to happen. So we go down, inspections, maintenance, servicing, service tags, tells you about the service stickers, which I've got this in a couple of different spots. We're gonna go over. One of the things that, I don't know how it stands anymore. It used to be that if you work for the owner of the building, let's say, Martin, you own the building, and you have a fire system, you were allowed to change out the smoke detector, put a new smoke detector in because you were the owner of that. I had another building owner that owned the building that fire marshal was involved, that were telling him, you cannot do that, you now have to use a licensed firearm company to do any kind of repair work on the fire system. So I think now, it used to be where you could change out a smoke detector, now they don't want you to touch it. Because when we change out a detector, we actually put a service sticker saying you replace detector so-and-so on level so-and-so, and there's a log as far as what's being done in your building. Yes, sir.
Let me interrupt you for a minute.
Sure.
Can we do the sprinkler discussions?
Just a little, I believe you can.
I was told you can't.
Really?
Yep, because I was gonna order some for 2 of the buildings, and they said, can't do it. Is there anything that you know of that, why we can't?
I'm more of the electronic.
Okay, that just,
Yeah.
something to look into.
Right, exactly.
It's a good thing, I'd like me to get back with you on
Sure,
that.
no problem.
Okay.
There's really nothing electronic, all it is just a unscrew.
I know.
You screw in, and it's a,
But they,
wow.
they have to still, said they don't want you to do it, but they still have to come back if they find them and then respect it anyways and bill you again.
So you spray some company that said that?
Right here, servicing, testing, and maintaining, qualified personnel approved by the fire marshal conduct servicing, testing, and repair and maintenance tagging. So you have to be a licensed company in order to tag and do that. Tags and labels, red tags. This section that I got here is more pertaining to extinguisher, which we're gonna ignore for right now, because I'll get into the tagging later on in the firearm portion. Yellow tags, new installation labels, I'm gonna get into that a little bit. Audibility testing, there it is again, every 3 years. This is the Texas Insurance Code, fire detection and alarm device installation. These are kind of the rules and regulation a firearm company has to follow in order to do firearm in your building. As far as the tagging, this is what I kind of focus on this thing, as far as the tagging. When a firearm system gets installed, before it gets installed, we have to submit, or even like a build out in a tenant space. There's a tenant space that's being built out, and I have to submit drawings. Well, I have to have an alarm planning superintendent puts his signature on there, his license number. I submit their firearm drawings, they review them, and they say, okay, everything looks good, they get approved, I get them back. But this is the tag that goes on the firearm drawings that y'all really don't see. Another tag that you will see will be a brand new system that gets installed. Will have an installation record. That tag basically states when the system was installed, the licensee of the person that installed it, and then the alarm planning superintendent that signed off on the drawings when it was submitted. So this is a sticker that you'll see on the brand new fire system that whenever it gets installed. When we go into servicing, this is a service record. You have a smoke detector that's dirty or cut wire in the construction area that needs to be serviced. We come out, troubleshoot, we find the problem, we correct the problem. We'll stick our service sticker, which is, this is our sample that we get from that insurance code, but here's an actual copy of my sticker. And it basically states the same thing except with my company information on it. Here, we put the date, the technician that did the work, license number, and then we give a brief description of what was done. If we did some red tag repairs, then we would check off red tag corrected, the date of the red tag or the yellow tag, and then put a brief description there. Here's what I was referring to, is the inspection record. That's kind of a mess up on my part, because I've got service record listed there, which is actually supposed to be inspection record. State's not gonna put color on their deal when they print it out, so they just kind of left it white, but that's the actual color you'll see. You'll see a blue sticker stating it's inspection, where there was a new installation, you know, you've got to test the new installation, make sure that it's working. Where there medical buildings gotta be tested quarterly, semi-annual or annual, so one of these two boxes will be checked. Last date of sensitivity, if known. Okay, you put the date there. Now, if we do a building inspection and everything worked great, there was no troubles, no yellow tags or anything, you'll have an acceptable. But if we find an area that needed a strobe or, a code violation, it's basically a yellow tag. So if we find a yellow tag, a code violation, you'll have acceptable with a yellow tag because everything worked, but you have areas that are missing strobes. If one strobe or one device does not work, whether it's a smoke detector, strobe light, anything, basically anything does not work, then we're forced to put in a red tag. And we would check off red tag, and then you would not have an acceptable because we have a red tag violation. But this is the inspection sticker. This is basically a yellow tag for code violations. And we're gonna get into how we get code violations and why it gets questioned sometimes. But here it is again, date, license of the person that did the inspection, whatever else. Here's your red tag sticker. There again, if we got one strobe that does not work, we're forced to put an impaired because something's not working properly. Or if your building got hit by lightning and it took out your fire system and it's completely dead, then we would put system inoperable. If you notice here, in writing with, it's supposed to be within 24 hours of thoughts. It's in writing within 3 days, okay? So we have to notify the fire marshal within 3 days that you were red tagged. And then they'll either one follow up and say, what's going on, when are you gonna get it fixed? Or it may be already fixed. A lot of times we have buildings that we got one or two strobes that didn't work. Engineer may say, fix it. And then if the engineer says, fix it, I won't even put a red tag because it's, why put a red tag and notify the fire marshal if it's gonna get fixed before they even know anything about it. Okay, this is something that's not really part of my deal, but I just wanted to share it with y'all. LSB fire depository boxes. This is where you got your box with keys, cards, paper information in it. I don't really get involved in this. This is not something that the engineers and management or the property manager takes care of. But the fire marshal or the fire inspector wants to see your keys color coded. There's certain colors for certain keys, and then other keys take other colors. They're supposed to be ringed like this. And then there's even a more breakdown on the next page which shows you the color codes and labels and stuff like that. That's something to refer to. Fire drills. This is another LSB that you would download from their city website. There is different types of fire drills depending on your building category. If you have fire, schools, educational, or if you're high rise, which we're going to focus on here, and in hospitals. It tells you the frequencies of the different classifications of the buildings. So I'm focusing on the high rise. We're going to do. Okay, so fire drills and high rise. The fire safety director shall conduct a fire exit drill in accordance with the approved fire safety plan for the high rise at least every 6 months. You're supposed to be doing fire drills. Okay? If you look on the cover page on that original deal, down to the bottom I put on there, there is no charge to assist with the yearly fire drill. So I basically give a free service once a year to come out, assist you with conducting a fire drill, and I'll kind of take advantage, not for me, whatever fire contractor see if they offer that, but usually when we do fire drills, we're putting a full load as far as all your strobes, speakers, or horn strobes on your system. And if something's gonna not work properly, you don't have to re-simulate everything again with your fire alarm contractor. You don't have them be there, and if something goes wrong, we can see what's going on, and we can make note, and then possibly start fixing the problem. But that's kind of a little freebie that I give, for customers. right here, fire drill participation, all occupants of the building shall participate in the fire drill required by the code officials. I would kind of recommend if you've got certain people that think they're high and mighty, don't need to participate, when if there's ever a fire, they're gonna be the first ones, I don't know what to do. Well, because you get participate. Okay, so if you record and keep a log as far as who's participating, who's not participating, that may cover you later on, whenever there's a problem and they say, I didn't know what to do. Written records. Whenever I assist in a fire drill, I'll give you a service ticket and just take no charge and assist in building fire drills. That's something the fire marshal will see and say, okay, that's part of your documentation that you did do a fire drill. Y'all keep y'all's alarm permit here management office, right? Okay. Every fire system that's up and running should be monitored by an outside company, which is a central station. So you go on disregard whenever you're about to test it, whatever. There should be a blue fire alarm permit, or actually City of Houston alarm permit. There should be an alarm permit, and this is a copy of the original. So this alarm permit tells the city that you've registered your alarm system, you've got a current permit, and when we're doing an inspection, that's one of the things we verify to make sure you don't get a citation for having an expired permit. So this is basically, like I said, it's just saying that the building's registered, there's your permit number, it was issued on February the 1st of 2019. It's good for 1 year, which you see expires in 1 year from the issue. If you don't have an alarm permit, on the next page after that, there's an application that you can use to actually submit for your alarm permit. NFPA 72, signaling code. This is basically going over testing frequencies, when stuff is supposed to be tested, how often they're supposed to be tested. On the first section, we're gonna go into sensitivity. If you remember on that second page where it said 2 to 5 years on sensitivity, well, here's where they're getting at. Sensitivity shall be checked 1 year after installation. So if you get a new building and it just got installed, sensitivity supposed to be done 1 year after. After that, the sensitivity shall be checked every alternate year thereafter, otherwise permitted with compliance. So, and then when we get here, it tells you, basically, first year, you need sensitivity. After that, you skip the next year, but the third year, you need to do sensitivity again. And if everything's good, and no problems, no detectors are dirty, then you can skip over to do detector sensitivity every 5 years. So that's where that window comes in from the 2 to 5 years. Normally, y'all gonna be in occupied buildings, so they've already been there. Majority, all the addressable systems, because I don't know if y'all have hardwire systems. A hardwire system is where you got 20 smoke detectors, and at the fire panel, you get level 1, and then you gotta go look for the little red light on the smoke detector. Do you have that? Okay. So that's considered a non-addressable system. You actually have to go find the alarm. You just know roughly it's on the first floor. Or if somebody pulls a pull station, it'll say 1 pull, and you gotta go look at all your pulls to see which one's open. So that's a non-addressable system. So on your situation, when you do sensitivity, that requires somebody to come over there, use a machine, to hook up to that detector, and it sends off a little bit of smoke, and it tells the machine how much smoke it took for that detector to go into alarm. That's kind of a long process to do your sensitivity. If you have an addressable system, all addressable systems, I don't know of any, but they all have real-time sensitivity. They'll tell you when detector 101 or detector 28 dirty needs to be replaced, or maintenance required. There's different verbiages on different fire panels. That you don't need to use the machine because you have real-time sensitivity being done constantly every day, 24 hours. So if one gets dirty, let's say detector dirty, just take it out, or call us and take it out, replace it, and you're back to normal. But a sensitivity still needs to be done, whether it's your system, the hardwire, or our system, because the addressable system, because you still need to plug in, do the capture of all the detectors, and then it'll tell you whether the detectors are close to being dirty, need to be replaced, which I'm going to show you a report of a sensitivity report. So if we go here, detector sensitivity inspection report, that's of this building here. We get a capture, next thing it tells us the address of the device, the label of the device, and whether it passed or failed, and the model number of the device. And that's basically captured, converted into a report, and then give it to the customer. If there was anything that failed, it would either be yellow or red as far as fail. And then, let's say in this particular situation, Ruben's building, everything tested good, you'll get a smoke detector inspection compliance letter. That's one of the things that, inspectors and fire inspectors are no longer looking for the reports. They're looking for this now, because that is throwing the blame on us as far as you tested it, you said everything was working, you got a compliance letter, you gave it to the customer, you know, what happened? So we're just kind of making it easy for y'all and passing them up to us, so. But, you know, that's something they're wanting, a compliance letter for auditability, inspections, everything. So there is a compliance letter for that particular building. This is going into auditability. Auditability is something that's required every 3 years, and we've already gone over that a couple of times. This is basically just telling us what needs to be done, how it should be done, and the requirements. The key deal to focus here is it needs to be at least 15 dB above ambient sound. So a auditability inspection is done during the day while everybody's working, you know, normal work. We don't actually create any kind of sirens or anything. We use an auditability meter, a dB meter. We activate it, turn it on, and this is normal ambient noise. We got 64, okay? That's the normal deal. So if we have a rectangle building like here, we'll pick 8 to 10 spots, and we kind of use that standard all the way down, and we'll make a description as far as, and you'll see here in a little bit. We'll do a description of where we're at, right here. So on level 11, stair 8, and then we did one in the lobby. We did one, a couple of in suite 1100 Main Street. So you can see a normal reading, and these are the normal readings we did during the day while work is going on. Then we come in after hours at 6 o'clock, and we got clearance and tenants know that we're about to set off sirens. Then we activate an alarm. We go to those same spots and take our readings again. We're supposed to be 15 dB above the normal ambient sound. So this is a little spreadsheet that I've got that all I do is just type in the numbers and it automatically calculates for me whether I'm high or low or pass or fail. So wherever it fails, I have to tag it. Here's an area that was 8 dB. So 7 dB. If I got an area that's 14 dB, I usually give y'all the point, because you're still gonna hear it. So I'm not gonna write you up for 14. So I'll give you the points, move it up to where it's 15 dB. So once this report is created, then here is the failed auditability inspection. So you'll get the report, you'll get a separate page that shows the areas that need repairing. And then when you get that, along with the report and the failed report, you'll get the quote on this is how much it's gonna cost to make the repairs. Here it is, need to add speaker in suite, whatever speaker has ceiling, above ceiling, there's a speaker above there. So when we're walking around and we've got the alarms going off, we can hear there's a speaker above the ceiling. There's no need to charge you to add a speaker when there's already one there that needs to be retrimmed on the tile. So there's that item. We'll give you that breakdown on parts and breakdown on labor, and there's what you would have to pay to bring it up to code. Once you give me the okay, or give whoever the contractor the okay, and they make the repairs, then once the repairs are complete, you need to get a building auditability inspection compliance letter stating that on this particular date, the inspection was done, the repairs were done on that date for whatever building, and now you have a blue tag and everything is repaired. There's your compliance letter for auditability. So we've seen sensitivity, we've seen auditability. This is part of the NMPA 72, because I kind of stuck those papers in between. here's the testing frequency, audibility, annual. This is where you annually have to test all your smoke detectors, pull stations, physically test them. They need to be tested at least once a year. Digital communicator. And there's like 3 or 4 pages of this, and then it gets into visual. Get pictures with that. There we go. Okay, so now I'm at, NFPA 72, page 77. This is visual inspection. This is where you come into, we test it on annual inspection, we tested all the smokes and pulls, plus the door locks. Then on the semi-annual, we've got to check the remote enunciators, make sure the remote enunciators are displaying what they're supposed to, whether there's alarm trouble or any kind of condition on the fire panel. And electronic releasing, or electromechanical releasing, semi-annual. Semi-annual means it's got to be tested twice a year. So. Now, here we get into a fire alarm inspection report. I've kind of found out from other customers that some companies go in there and test a building and they put a blue sticker and you don't get anything. Well, you should be getting some kind of form saying that this is what was tested, where it's at, whether it passed or failed. You should be getting some kind of report other than you're good. But basically, it's a full report. That's a few, yearly. So here's a smoke detectors, mechanical room. Then notice of annual fire alarm inspection. Basically, it states that you had an inspection, everything was 100% functionally tested, a blue sticker was placed on the panel, no deficiencies were found. Okay, and then if you get a semi-annual inspection, it's the same thing. Basically, we'll put on there, you were tested semi-annually, this is the semi-annual inspection, everything was visually looked at, all your doors were tested, everything worked the way it was supposed to, if it did. IBC, International Building Code. Here is kind of like the main thing that I always get a question on strobes. Strobes are always the biggest problem with fire alarm contractors with customers, because it seems that a lot of customers think we're just creating work for ourselves, when actuality, installation, fire protection systems shall be maintained in accordance with the original installation standards for that system. Required systems shall be extended, altered, or augmented as necessary to maintain and continue protection wherever the building is altered, remodeled, or added to. What that's basically saying is, anytime there's any changes done to the building or tenant space, you still gotta keep it up to code standards. A lot of times, there's a remodel being done that y'all don't even know about, because it doesn't take construction to remodel or relabel a room. So, in which I'm gonna show y'all here a little bit how that falls into place. Common use, because this is something they use a lot, is common use area. Interior, exterior circulation paths, rooms, spaces, elements that are not for public use and or made available for shared use of 2 or more people. So basically that says 2 or more people or common area use, that is a path. That's kind of a definition there. Public use areas, interior, exterior rooms or spaces made available to the general public. The reason I'm bringing those out because it refers to where strobes are needed. Okay. Public and common areas, visible alarm notifications shall be provided in public and common areas. That's going back to what we just read before. Those are the areas in in case you're saying, well, what is a common area or what is a public area? We've kind of highlighted that and told you what those are. Anything that's two or more people or a common pathway that the public's gonna use. So what that means is you need to have a strobe light in a common area, pathway, or two or more people. So what that tells us is the only place that does not need a strobe light is a single person office. If you have an office and it's just for you, and you're gonna walk out and go see, somebody else, you don't need a strobe light in your one person office. But on this situation, as we're getting to the end of our deal, this is a tenant space layout. So let's say, for example, on this tenant space, it says right here, sample one, no strobes are in suite. We assume that the tenant has been in space before ADA, and we will not write up anything on this particular space. So I think ADA was adopted back in 78, something like that. There was no strobe lights, fire alarm strobe lights before 1978. So you have nothing there, and you have one by one tile, the little stud tile. Yeah, everybody hates that stuff. If you have the one by one tile, and it looks kind of like an old tenant space, we're gonna assume that they've been there since then. Okay? So we won't write it up. We won't say you need to add strobes to this suite. But this is the same exact space as above. Strobes have been added in suite, but not up to code standards. This suite will be written up. Because if you have a strobe light here, and you have a strobe light there, but not in IT or break room or reception and storage room, well, these strobes were installed after ADA because they didn't develop ADA strobes, so this got installed, but it didn't get installed properly. They were just doing the pathways. So it's gonna be written up that you need to install strobes, okay? Let's say, for example, engineering or management says, Oscar, bring up the space to code. I bring it up to code. 6 months later, I come and inspect it. It says suite has been brought up to code on the last inspection, but 2 offices have been changed to 2-person offices and does not meet code. Well, this and this were single-person offices 6 months ago. But now all of a sudden, somebody bought these $30 desk and stuck another person in there. It didn't take construction to change that room. It doesn't take construction to make this office into a storage room by bringing desk and everything in there. Now you're storing a bunch of equipment in there. It's no longer an office, it's now a storage room. There was no construction done, and that's where a lot of times management or engineers like, hey, you just did the inspection, why are you writing it up again? Well, it wasn't this way 6 months ago. Okay? So that's the purpose of us going in there, visibly walking, making sure that everything meets codes, because we're supposed to be your eyes and ears, so you don't get fined or you don't get the fire marshal, and that's what actually triggered all this. When I was with the previous company, I get a call from my customer. It's like, hey, Oscar, I'm in level 2 in this particular spot, and there's a conference room. Why isn't there a strobe light? I'm like, how big is the conference room? Oh, it's small. And well, I had to go dig up the paperwork and find out that this was an office before. I have no idea what y'all do after I leave my inspection. So I had to show that this was labeled as an office, and I cleared the fire marshal from my back, but this wasn't really our fault. So after that, I kind of told my guys, you need to focus, write down, walk around. You see a single 2-person office, it doesn't have a strobe, you write it up. We basically put on there, when we write up the report, 2-person office or a conference room, missing strobe or whatever else. And when we stick a yellow sticker, we give you the price to bring it up to code. We can't force you, either way around. The yellow sticker, I still need to notify the fire marshal, but they're not as harsh compared to a red sticker. Red sticker, there's something wrong, it's not working, it needs to be fixed. Yellow sticker, it's a code violation. Fire marshal may say, what's going on, we're gonna get it fixed. Majority of the time, there's a delay on that because management can't control what the tenant does in their space to a certain extent when they start changing stuff around like this. So when they start changing stuff around like this, management then in turn tries to send them a bill and say, hey, we need to add a strobe light, this is how much it's gonna cost, are you gonna reimburse us? And then that's where the change of hand takes place, because they changed their space, they need to bring it up to code. Other than that, I think I'm done. That's the end of my last page. Any questions?
on the stroke, side, said if there's a single office person that's not needed, those the size of the office matters, doesn't matter?
Good question. I used to have problems with fire marshal inspections. I would get a fire marshal to come out and it would be a big executive office, that's the key. Executive office are usually big offices, they have a sofa, they have a table, and, you know, one fire marshal, okay, we're good, and walk around. But then I had another fire marshal, you need a strobe, you fell, and they'd walk away, like, wait a minute, why does this fire marshal say I don't need one, but then you say I do? So I had to go to the city of Houston and say, hey, Inspector Ortiz is forcing me to put strobe lights. I didn't have that in my quote because Inspector Hernandez says I don't need them. I need, you know, some kind of guideline, which is it? So they had a little powwow meeting. They called me back and said, no longer, as long as it says executive office or the keyword office is there, you don't need a strobe light. Unless, and then what I always refer to, if it says office, you need to reflect to the furniture layout. Because it can say office, but then there's two desks. And that's something that whenever it's being laid down, the guy that's designing the floor or whatever has to verify, is it a single person office or a two-person office? Because the architect would just say, you know, office, but when you look at the furniture, you see the two desks. And then that's where, you know, if I didn't see it properly, that's something that I need to eat and put in my cost because I didn't properly do my research when I was doing the layout. So, but other than that, good question, yeah. So if it's in executive office, you don't need it. Now, there will be times when you see, single person offices with strobes. What winds up happening there is there used to be a tenant, it got remodeled, but instead of demoing that and moving it somewhere else, they just left the strobes where they're at and put them where they needed to be in the future. So now you've got extra strobes where you don't necessarily need, but, you know, now you've gone over and above and you have more coverage than what you need, but there's nothing wrong with that. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So say you have a suite in the middle, single suite just like that, and you have two on the inside. What if they have doors on the inside and make one suite part of that? And you have to walk from one suite and then go to another two.
Kind of expanded. Now, so they expanded it.
Well, the walls are still there, they just added doors to have entry into those other two next doors.
It should be brought up to code, yeah. Now, there's times that they do non-permitted jobs, and then whoever your firearm contractor is like, well, it's not gonna get permitted, I don't need to bring it up to code, they're not gonna find out anyway, but let's say if you kick that firearm contractor out and you get another firearm contractor in there, he may write it up, this week's not meeting code, so now it's gotta be brought up, and it kinda creates a headache because now that firearm contractor, or maybe that firearm contractor writes it up, and you know construction was done, now who's gonna pay the bill to bring it up to code? Because it should have been done whenever construction was being done. So this is now after the fact, it needs to be brought up to code.
Question. Just to go on to what you were saying too, what if it's a half wall? Like it's one big suite, there's a half wall that has the suite.
So it's open, like right here?
Like you can walk into the other space, but there's no door, and the top of the ceiling is, it's like.
As long as it's visible, you're good. Okay. Yeah. Now, one of the things to bring up a good point is, let's say, for example, you have a conference room. You called some contractor and put a glass wall, I wanna make that a conference room, and there's no strobe, but you got 4 over here. Okay. Fire marshal don't care. As far as he says, you may put a curtain, and I can't see those strobes, I need a strobe in that, it's that glass, clear glass wall, they consider that a wall that you cannot see through, because you may come back and put curtains, so I need a strobe in that conference room, even though you got the meeting over here, so. Anything else? No? Well, thank you very much. You know, my name and number is on that card. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or whatever. I do work on all different kinds of firearm systems, so, you know. Yes, sir.
How many buildings do you currently have with us?
Right now, just this one.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
But as far as buildings myself, like I think you missed out my introduction, I started off with 5, I'm up to 30 buildings now, but my main tenants or customers is Gemini Rosemont, Transwestern, now it's no longer PMRG, but it's Madison Marquette.
Yeah.
You know, I've got 2,900, so those are my main customers.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Quite welcome.
Appreciate it.